आप करने वाले बोलो, मैं बिकॉज आई नो दैट स्टूडेंट्स आर लिस्टिंग अगेन, मैं नस्ट की एक और बड़ा एक कोर्स है, उसके अंदर वो आपको पढ़ाते हैं how the solution space is bigger than the problem space. So as a great leader or a great business person, जो BBA वाले students होते हैं, we did मैं आपको वही बताया, जो things that have stuck with me from university days was that always try to operate in the solution space as opposed to a problem space. And I kid you not, a lot of the disappointments that you think you're facing, I really hope that when you'll operate in the solution space, they'll go away. Because you are acknowledging that there is a problem, but I need to find the solution. So don't exist in the problem space. The solution space is much bigger, and be there. The problem space is a square inside a big rectangle. So operate in the solution rectangle as opposed to the problem square, and that is very very key. और इसको use करो for all the questions that we have had today कि top university नहीं है तो मुझे job कैसे मिलेगी. अच्छा, अब मैं top university में भी हूँ और अब मुझे test देना पड़ रहा है, तो मैं test कैसे पास करूँ. अच्छा, मैंने test पास कर लिया, मैं नौकरी पे आ गया, मेरा नौकरी का slow start है. It's okay. We've all been through these challenges. Honestly, I look back and I think at one point in time or another, I've been through all of these three things, right? I just feel not that I was very good at doing it while I was doing it then, but I didn't have a podcast to listen to. But if you're listening and you genuinely think that I can add some value to you, I would say that operate in the solution space and say, now what can I do? And I'm telling you that the solution will be there for you 99% of the time. The solution is there, and तुम लोग सबको लगता है HR बहुत गंदा है. HR के लोग अच्छी है भाई, यानी कि तुम उनको अपना genuine मसला बताओगे, वो solve करेंगे, तुम उनको अपना genuine interest दिखाओगे, they will go out of their way to help you and support your employment and all of that, but तुम थोड़ी सी मेहनत करो, notice होने के लिए, इंशाल्लाह उमर आपको job देगी.
ये अच्छा है सना, आप
प्रमोशन कराएंगे, आपको जॉब देंगे, आप टेंशन ना लें. उमर, आई ट्राइड रियली हार्ड कि इस दफा मैं उर्दू में इंटरव्यू दूं, और अगर ये पॉडकास्ट अच्छा नहीं हो रहा तो फिर लोगों को समझ आ जानी चाहिए. इससे मैं ज्यादा आई कैन नॉट एक्सप्रेस माय वेल इन उर्दू. सो लेकिन मैंने कोशिश की है कि मैं बिल्कुल उर्दू बोलूं थ्रू एंड थ्रू.
नहीं, आपने बहुत अच्छी किया है, बहुत अच्छे तरीके से आपने एक्सप्रेस किया है. And I think it will resonate well with people. मेरे mind में एक चीज चलती है, as a professional, the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges in Pakistan is to have diversity. अब diversity में बहुत सारी चीजें आती हैं, but one specific area that we struggle with is having more females at workplace, the percentage. Now, I know you belong to a company where the diversity, gender diversity is great. And obviously,
the other way around. We need to hire more men.
Yeah, the other way around.
L'Oreal needs to hire more men.
So
in the other way around, globally.
Your talent, male who are watching this, please connect with Sanaa. They're hiring male candidates. We do a lot of things. We try to support women. Why? Because we want level playing field of how the situation is. Every society is different. But the problem is कि वो होता नहीं है. Percentage अभी भी हम 10, 14, 15 भी हो जाए, बड़े खुश हो जाते हैं कि यार वाह, we have done wonders. But that's not the case. What do you feel the companies are lacking over here? And what do you think we can do to make it, like, maybe even take it to 30-40% of the workforce? Is it society that we need to work on? Is it the company policies that we need to work on? I know a lot of companies that are certified best place to work at, and they're doing great, but उनका फिर भी 15-20% workforce होती है female, the rest aren't. And that creates a very big problem because women don't have then female leaders to look up to, because वो पाइपलाइन में नहीं होती तो वो ऊपर नहीं जाती है. देन ऑब्वियसली जब एक टाइप का एक माइंडसेट बैठा होता है, चाहे वो जेंडर हो, चाहे वो यूनिवर्सिटी हो, जो भी हो, वो फिर एक तरीके से कहीं ना कहीं एक बायस आ जाता है इन डिस्कशन. सो यू नीड दैट डाइवर्सिटी. व्हाट डू यू थिंक अबाउट इट एंड हाउ कैन वी मे बी मेक इट बेटर?
मैंने बहुत सोचा इसके बारे में, बाय द वे, not because of myself, but because I'm big on gender targets and all of this, I'll give you a good example. Before I even talk about कि पाकिस्तान में क्या करना चाहिए, I will talk to you a little bit about Saudi Arabia. 5, 6, 7 years ago, women were not allowed to drive in that country. Today, women are at the forefront of the Vision 2030 that Saudi has set for itself. Like, more women are studying in universities than men are. More women are entering workforce than men are, and they are at the forefront of the change in parallel to the male population as well, right? So I don't know if the audience जो भी Saudi से अगर कोई देख रहा है या who has experience there, they will be able to supplement the same information as well. But the beauty of that country in the last 3 to 4 years is how they have really corrected the gender paradigm, like, and it really inspires me, like, so pehle mujhe lagta tha that companies are not doing enough, and we need to do a lot more. But I think it's not just the companies, with all due respect, it is the society as well as our country that needs to do better, like, for women. And जब तक वो baseline नहीं ठीक होती ना, for access to good quality education, access for safety and security, access for the streets being safe for women to be out, I don't think you can achieve that world where you want to operate as a professional or even as a company, because your socio-economic setup is not allowing for it, right? Like, and ये बहुत मैं बहुत generally light hearted बातें करती हूँ, लेकिन this is something where, like, I genuinely feel कि Pakistan needs a lot more support, and our socio-economic setup needs to do a lot better in order to support women at this point in time, because access की पहले access तो सही हो जाए ना, यानी कि am I safe traveling alone? Can I stand outside Dolman? And my ex office was at Dolman, right? It's the poshest place in Karachi to have an office. But can I stand outside the mall at 9 p.m. and not be worried about what will happen to me? Or do I need a male chaperone to be with me, right? Like, so I to think there is a lot to do on the safety, security, accessibility for women in Pakistan before we can talk about bringing them and welcoming them to the workplace. To be very honest, workplaces are a lot more inclusive today versus the country. Okay, like you said कि हमने pick and drop भी दिया, हमने day care भी दिया, हमने ये भी किया, हमने वो भी किया, right? लेकिन हमने किया, like, and I think the companies and the corporate sector of Pakistan has done a phenomenal job, and I'm talking about local, and I'm so inspired by local corporations. I'm so inspired by FMCGs and MNCs because they brought that vision to the country, etc. But today I think the corporations are doing the best that they can, but honestly speaking, the reformation has to start with access, safety, security, and soch. We are making that impact and that change person by person, but the change is bigger at this point in time. What's needed is bigger. We have a responsibility as the corporate sector of Pakistan to continue the good work that we're doing, to continue to create the opportunity that we are, and correct. And I feel I'm very hopeful for the future, because today I see not just that women are entering the workforce more. I also feel that men are more supportive of women entering the workforce more. So आपको दोनों तरफ से आपको इज्जत भी मिल रही है और आपको encouragement भी मिल रही है और आपकी capability भी built हो रही है. And I hope we don't lose this piece. Like, I genuinely hope we don't lose this piece. And you're right that that it's not about entrance into the market, it's about the progression in the market. So even when I look at gender diversity targets, etc., मैं ये नहीं देखती कि what is the balance, कि हम 50-50 हैं या हम 45-55 हैं या हम 30-70 हैं. मैं actually अक्सर what I try to focus with my team usually is, and my team is a witness to it in Pakistan particularly, I used to say कि okay, what is the bench strength for leadership? Yani if you have 2 men, do we have 2 women? And if you're not at 2 women and 2 men, then there is a problem. Like, and even if you have 4 women, that's not good. It needs to be balanced, right? But it needs to not be done as a favor. It cannot be done as a KPI. It needs to be done on the basis of capability. It needs to be done on the basis of hard work, equity, transparency. All of that applies. But are we creating the right bench strength? And I think for most FMCGs, corporations, tech firms, startups, unicorns, I think कि वो gender balance इतना मसला नहीं है. I think women in leadership masla hai at this point in time. And I think as an industry we need to work a lot more closely together on this piece. I genuinely do feel that, like, okay, there is so much more that we can do, but it's coming, because today diversity has improved. The fact of the matter is that diversity in organizations have improved, and where they have not improved, at least they have it as a top of mind thought कि इसको improve करना है. तो ये change तो शुरू हो गया. Like, अब इसका wave 2 है of having women in leadership, of having of ensuring that women do not fall off the career tracks, etc. But like I said, कि अकेले नहीं कर सकेंगे. Corporate Pakistan cannot do this alone. I think it requires a big societal change, and I hope it comes. I'm generally a very patriotic person, so I think if the wheels are in motion. It will take time, but it will happen. But we all have a role to play, and that's what I would tell the girls who are watching, that ask for the flexibility that you need, because you have no idea that the other side might not even know that you require it. दैट इज द नंबर वन थिंग. लाइक मैं सबसे पहले तो ये बात करूंगी कि औरत पूछती नहीं है, लड़कियां पूछती नहीं है, बिकॉज उनको लगता है बुरा लग जाएगा, क्यों पूछें, दे देते, दीज काइंड ऑफ कन्वर्सेशंस. गर्ल्स आर लाइक दैट. Like, but I would say कि जो भी flexibility चाहिए, demand it. And अगर worst comes to worst answer आएगा कि नहीं, ये हमारी company policy में नहीं है, तो नहीं है, it's okay, no problem. At least you check, right? But on the bright side, maybe you ask for something and the company hasn't thought it through. Umar has not thought it through. Sanaa has not thought it through, and we might think, oh, we need to add this. We need to give this as a flexibility option, like, to women. I would say for women, my only request is that ask. What you don't have, ask for it. You will be pleasantly surprised with how willing most organizations are to create a more conducive workplace for you. I trust that. I trust and believe in that. And for the men, I would say that be a little bit more empathetic and positively observant, because your job is also to elevate the female. If this is truly what you believe in, if you want to champion the woman cause, like, then be mindful that there is another gender in the room, that there are differences, and you have to be respectful of it, and you have to be mindful of it. And this is also very, very key. So I think both of them need to work together. One cannot achieve equity and equality without the support of the other gender. So it has to be a co-owned agenda in the organization. I genuinely feel that. So it can't be woman for woman. It's not going to happen. It has to be equity, equality for all. Like, and I think it will be a lot more successful. But it can't happen without the support of the male staff. Like, so they have a very, very big role to play there as well. And I think this is very, very. You cannot be apologetic about what you need to be your best. It's a resource that you need. I'll give you a good example. It's none of our companies for a change. It's Biasdorf, and at one point in time, they had a session at a Middle East, North Africa level, so at a regional level, on they wanted the spouses of their female employees to come and talk to the single male employees in their organization and tell them that how have they supported the growth of their women, so that the male population in their organization could do the same for the females in their life. I do not know, बहुत ज़्यादा इंग्लिश होगी, लेकिन एक आइडिया आप इसको नहीं, लेकिन I hope you understand what I'm trying to say, कि कि their take on this was कि जो the women leaders or the boss leaders or the girls who are doing really well at their company, they're doing well because they have back-end support. Like, so they had invited the back-end support to say that how did you support these women who are doing so well at our company. And the advice was given to the top leaders and all the top male employees to say that this is the kind of support you need to be offering to your partners, to your sisters, to your wives, to your mothers, who are also aspiring to be more well-rounded, all-rounded individuals as well. And I thought that was very inspirational. It was a very fresh take. What we really need is the co-ownership of the agenda. That's all what I can say. It's not one for the other and one for one. It's all for one. Until we do not corporations wise, I think जब तक ये all for one mentality नहीं आएगी ना, जब तक you'll have that challenge. And I think along with the corporations, I think the big ones particularly have we need to align together, because it's not just corporate Pakistan, it's all of Pakistan. That's where the actual support is needed at this point.
For me, because मैं HR में भी हूँ और मैं leadership पे भी contribute कर रहा होता हूँ with my opinion, and I work with the leadership team, which obviously because how Pakistan corporates are predominantly male होती है, but हमारा हमेशा यही point of view होता है कि just be empathetic and understand कि how what challenges are there, and then you have to go out of the way. It is not a one size fits all कि यार मेरे साथ ये हुआ तो उसके साथ ये नहीं हो सकता, या उसके साथ ये हुआ तो मेरे साथ नहीं हो सकता. As men, just need to be more empathetic, regardless of the gender, regardless of वो male है, female है, या if there's a person with disability, you need to understand the context, and आपको खुद solution आ जाएगा. ये इतना debate नहीं और इतना उसमें पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं, but you need to understand where the other person is coming from. हर किसी की सिचुएशन और हर किसी का जो लाइफ जर्नी है और डे की जर्नी भी है ना, वो सेम नहीं है. कुछ ज्यादा प्रिविलेज है, कुछ कम प्रिविलेज है, किसी को कोई चीज मिलती है, किसी को कोई चीज नहीं मिलती, कोई बाहर निकलता है उसको कुछ फेस करना पड़ता है, आपको नहीं करना पड़ता. उस सिचुएशन में रहें, नेचुरली आपकी कंपनी में ज्यादा एक्सेसिबिलिटी होगी. सोसाइटी में जो है उसके लिए कॉर्पोरेट्स को करना चाहिए, डेफिनेटली करना चाहिए, बिकॉज दैट एक पाकिस्तान का एक और इशू है, और जो बांग्लादेश ने has worked on it, and that's why their GDP is, a lot of people say, economists say that GDP is progressing because of that. They've involved women in their the productivity, women productivity that contributes to their GDP. उन्होंने involvement की. आपने सऊदी अरेबिया की एग्जांपल दी, they have done that. Why can't we do that? So वो वाली जो example है ना, actually it's really inspirational. I'll try to use it in the organization that I work, and I'll try to publish it as well on LinkedIn. वो जो चीज थी ना कि यार how you need to inspire other people. यार कैसे आप you can enable others, because I think as men, obviously वो education level कोई आके आपको inspire करता है तो आप बोलते हैं
men mansplaining to men. So I think बात जरा सा जल्दी समझ आ जाती है. Mansplaining to men is, I think, done best by men. But I would also say, Umar, on the other side, I will also show to you that that the number one need in the region that we are, but also globally, where they say that what does top talent want? Let me be very honest with you. Like कि जब कोई कहता है ना कि if you really want to hire the best of the best, what is that number one need that is driving their decisions to leave their current employers for the next one? Because they are happy. Top talent is generally happy where they work because they're very well taken care of, like in their company. The number one need that they quote is flexibility, and that sums the game जो तुम बात कर रहे हो, right? कि it's not about gender, it's not about ability, it's not about the best of people are all different from each other, and the organizations that are winning the talent game are the ones who are able to provide a lot of flexibility based on the individual needs. So mass customization is a big thing at this point in time in the best employers, because flexibility is the number one need for people right now, whether it's women, whether it's men, whether it's differently abled people, whether it's people in different phases of their life, a student who's working, a fresh graduate, a mother who's young, a mother whose son is 10 years old, a dad who's responsible for tuitions, like whoever it is, a bodybuilder or somebody who's training for a triathlon, like their needs are different and they're demanding a lot more flexibility. So I think companies that are truly winning as diverse places to work and truly considered as thriving places to work are very advanced on flexibility. And I think who the best employers in Pakistan are. You will see that all of them have this in common, that they're extremely flexible places to work. They're providing it like right there and then. So if you really want to be the best and attract the best and get the best out of people, You must listen to the people and what they want. And I will bring it back to जो आपने बात की कि what are the two what is the advice to young HR professionals? I said that know your business and know what your talent wants and put this together. You will जो जिसको काम नहीं भी आता ना वो भी बहुत अच्छा काम करके दिखाएगा. I can guarantee you on this one because it's not rocket science what we all do, to be very honest. Contrary to what some of my colleagues might say, but it's honestly not rocket science. Like my husband says, take a chill pill. You sell lipsticks for a living, like so that's true. Like so I think that advice I take to heart sometimes. कि ज़्यादा सोचना नहीं चाहिए. Trust people, know the challenge, enable the people to deliver, and let the magic of humanity fall through. Somehow or the other, it will get solved. Like लेकिन थोड़ा सा edge को release करें. Like but very very important. Flexibility is very key for also for the gender parity to exist. Flexibility more so than empathy is required.
And Sana, I've taken quite a bit of your time, but last question, and I want your opinion on it. Is HR the problem creator or solver at work? And मैं चाहता हूँ मैं LinkedIn पे एक debate वो करूँ proper, because a lot of people think HR कुछ करता नहीं because of their experiences with HR in their company. XYZ कोई भी company हो सकती है, but they don't understand कि वो जो role है या maybe MNCs या conglomerates में या progressive companies में जिस तरह HR एक business में role play करता है, they're probably not aware of it. But most of them, that's a reality. They see it as a problem. कि यार प्रॉब्लम हमारे लिए क्रिएट कर दी, हमारे लिए इश्यूज क्रिएट कर लिए, हमारी हेल्प नहीं की. What do you think? And I'm sure if we are HR professionals, we will never say हम है भी नहीं problem creator. But what do you think about this? यार वो लोग बोल रहे हैं, this is the opinion. And how do you think कुछ तो HR उनकी कंपनी में कर रहे हैं, उनको ये फील हो रहा है. That's also a point. So what advice do you have for those HR professionals, and at the same time advice for people who say these things?
First of all, ना कहें, हमारी feelings hurt होती हैं. हमारी feelings नहीं है. Like I'm just joking. I've heard this too many times. कि HR करता है क्या है और क्या role है. And I get it. Like if you're not in the profession and if you're not in the I think everybody's entitled to their opinion. I personally feel HR can be a solver and a creator of problems both. It really falls down to the leadership view on what is the job of HR. Which is why, again, I said that HR will be a problem creator if HR does not understand the business and the needs of its people. I'll retain that. Because you are trying to impose something where you do not have full expertise. ठीक है ना. तो आप एक एजेंसी के एचआर हैं और आप चाहते हैं कि लोग 9 बजे सुबह आ जाएं. You're creating a problem because you see most of the designers are working till 4 a.m. in the morning. Like so if an agency's culture is that they're going to start at 11 a.m., that's fine, because you will create a problem for their creative staff, etc., because they do extremely late nights. Like and आप इसका advanced version कहाँ से कहाँ तक लेके जा सकते हैं. I think HR is a problem solver when the HR resources are well versed in the business and they understand the challenges of the business, they understand the opportunity of the business, and they're able to link it to the opportunities and challenges of their people. Like because HR का ये काम नहीं है कि अगर एक employee आता है आपको कहता है कि ऐसे कर देना है और आप उसे कर दें. This is not the job of HR. The HR's job is to make the right decisions for the business, for it to grow, in respect to the people, which is the most critical resource. Like so as a consequence of that, it is very important that HR has a very very level head on both the business and its people sentiment and is able to amalgamate things better for the business leaders and the decision makers, as well as provide the right feedback at the right time. Like so I think creator of problems or solver of problem is a function of how the HR team is acting and what role do they want to play. Like and इस तरह से किसी का experience negative है, किसी का experience positive है. when I did Junaid's podcast, there were so many comments saying कि बहुत perfect बातें करती है सना, ऐसे नहीं है, ऐसे नहीं है, ऐसे नहीं है, ऐसे नहीं है. So I realized for the first time that people have had very tough experiences with HR
Tough
too.
experience.
So I think this is the responsibility of the HR teams more so than anybody else, कि आप क्या चाहते हैं कि लोग आपके बारे में क्या कहें और आप अपना एम्प्लॉयर ब्रांड ठीक करें. You are responsible for the company's employer brand, but I think the fraternity should really sit down and also improve their own employer brand, because in companies where HR is truly enabled and empowered, your company, for example, I know Shway, I know all of you really well. You are at the center of driving business decisions. So your company loves you guys. Think HR problem solver है या problem creator है, ये तो HR खुद से decide कर रहा है. I feel it is important that HR needs to take the role of a problem solver, and the way they are going to be able to solve problems is, I don't think intent की कमी है किसी में भी. I think execution में कमी आ जाती है, because some of the HR teams maybe do not understand कि business क्या है, business के challenges क्या है, business के solutions क्या है, and if they understand this piece as well, they're not able to link it to their people aspirations and people ambitions and their people motivations, which is कि employee क्या चाहता है company से, because आपको दोनों को जोड़ना है, and that is your job. तो कहीं ना कहीं आपने पजल में कोई गैप छोड़ा है जिसकी वजह से कोई बंदा बहुत नाराज है, तो आप काम ठीक करें तो शायद वो आपको आके सॉरी कहेगा नहीं, आप एचआर बेस्ट हैं. Like, लेकिन I know for I don't want to speak about my company, but I know I think you will agree, because I visited your offices, and you guys are very well liked, very well respected, because you have that philosophy, strong business partnering, but strong people partnering to enable the business also. You see both sides.
बिल्कुल, थैंक यू फॉर बीइंग ऑनेस्ट अबाउट दैट, बिकॉज आई गेट अ लॉट ऑफ दैट कि यार आप एचआर की बातें कर रहे हैं, ऐसा नहीं होता, आपने ये 9 चीजें लिखी हैं, एचआर करता है, हमारे यहाँ तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं हुआ, हमारे यहाँ ये इंस्टेंस, एंड देन दे स्टार्ट शेयरिंग द एग्जांपल्स, एंड आई वांट टू से दैट यू आर राइट, बिकॉज जो सना ने बात की कि यार वो एचआर डिपार्टमेंट का रोल है कि हाउ दे वांट टू बी व्यूड एंड व्हाट वैल्यू आर दे एडिंग. If they're not adding value, if they're creating problems, if they're acting as bad resources, if they're not thinking about the business, if they don't understand your problem, the context, and they're not there to help, so you're right there कि वो आपकी support नहीं कर रहे, and they're not playing the role that they should be playing. So
नहीं,
बिल्कुल
but Umar, I will add here, इसका ये मतलब नहीं है कि HR एम्प्लॉय की हर बात में हाँ मिला दे कि आपने कहा मैंने सुन लिया मैंने करा दिया. No, that is not at all what I'm saying. HR has a very strong responsibility to be transparent and fair to the organization as well. And a solid HR person is able to give that feedback very honestly to the employee base, one-on-one and at a company-wide level as well. And I think in my experience as an HRD, this is the skill I really had to hone, that I had to own up to the fact what I can't do, what we will not do. Like, because either we do not have enough resources, or because it does not align with the overall ambition or whatever. And even at a one-on-one level, जब आप business partner होते हो और आप employee को वो कह रहा है आपसे कि मेरी career growth नहीं हो रही, मुझे promotion नहीं मिल रही, you have to be confident enough to tell them why and what are the challenges as well. So I'm not saying that be the person जो सिर्फ अगर एम्प्लॉइज ने कुछ कहते तो आपने वो डिलीवर कर दिया. इफ यू कैन डिलीवर इट, गो अहेड एंड डिलीवर इट. बट इफ यू कैन नॉट डिलीवर इट, और इफ दिस इज नॉट इन सिंक with the ambitions or the resources or the strategy or the transparency that you want to retain for the rest of the employees, then you shouldn't say no, but you need to explain. You need to be transparent in your explanation so that the employee has full visibility. And अगर फिर उस visibility में वो ना समझा सिर्फ वो उनकी shortcoming है, लेकिन I think it is important that you're also able to decline requests or tell the hard answers also, just as much as it is. HR cannot be the bearer of good news. It's not rainbows and sunshines all the time. Like, that is not the job. That is definitely not the job. Your job is to be transparent. Your job is to be fair. Your job is to drive equity within the organization. And you need to honor that code. Like,
some people say your HR's job is to make us happy, employees happy.
It's one of your jobs. It's not your only job. And what will make you happy? Salary raises, जितनी मर्जी सैलरी रेज कर दो, नहीं होगी क्या हैप्पी, और चाहिए. Like, so how do you make employees happy? That's a good question too, and I would say that happy employees exist in an organization where they feel valued and where their personal objectives are aligned with the business objectives, and that does not mean that they don't want to hear no. They respect organizations, and I
Logic.
particularly think Gen Z, early millennials respect feedback and transparency. So happiness comes from the fact that my feedback was taken, heard, and I was given a logical answer, a reasonable input on it as well. I don't think that means कि बस दिए जाओ, खोले जाओ, because वो तो not possible, right? Like, so your job is to make them happy, but how do you define happy?
Yeah, and
Food
that was
makes me very happy. I think one thing HR should, on a lighter note,
खाना की बात.
all HR should support food initiatives, because I have realized, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान के अंदर कंपनियां हैं, चाहे वो पाकिस्तान से बाहर है, food is a common language that employees speak. तो ये आप जरूर करें. Like, मुझे लगता है कि खाने से लोग बहुत खुश होते हैं. On a lighter note, on a very, very light note, but honestly speaking, creator solution problem is about HR maintaining the transparency of the decisions that they make. But yes, their job is to service the employees of the organization, but service them how? It's in line with the business and in line with the business ambition. So you really need to know the business ambition. You really need to know the people inside, and you need to put it together for the business leaders to make the right decisions. That is one. And I think, and you should be able to have the good conversations, bearer of good news and good food, and great income increments and strong bonuses, and flexible work policies, yes. But you also need to be the bearer of honest news, where employees have demanded something of you, or the business is demanding something of you that you're not going to be able to provide to the organization, and you need to stand by it and explain it to your organization as to why. You owe that explanation to people as well as to the business. So I think जब आप बैलेंस करते हैं ना, जब लोग, फिर आपको लोग ऑटोमेटिकली इज्जत देंगे, इंशाल्लाह. हमें देंगे सर, इंशाल्लाह, जब हम ये कर लेंगे.
And that's what makes HR job a very tough job. अभी जो सना ने बात की, इसमें अभी इन्होंने डिपार्टमेंट्स की तो बात ही नहीं की, किस किस तरीके से आप सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं. एंड द पॉइंट दैट यू मेंशन कि आपको फेयर रहना है. एवरी सिचुएशन दैट यू कम अप विद, एवरी सिचुएशन एम्प्लॉय कम, वो उसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट आपको देखना है, अपने देखना है प्रेसिडेंस क्या है, कंपनी की पॉलिसी क्या है, वेयर कैन वी गो, हाउ कैन वी स्ट्रेच. ऐसा तो नहीं कि कुछ गलत हो जाए. ये सारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बर्डन आता है एचआर पर. तो वो, और फिर एंगेजमेंट, आप कितनी एंगेजमेंट रख रहे हैं लोगों की, इश्यूज जो हैं वो रिजॉल्व हो रहे नहीं हो रहे. कई दफा तो लाइन के या बिजनेस के इश्यूज होते हैं, वो उन्हीं को सॉल्व करने, बट वो हो नहीं रहे होता. लोग आपके पास आते हैं, फिर आप पीछे पड़ते हैं कि प्लीज सॉल्व करो, बिकॉज मेरा बंदा जो है ना वो डिसएंगेज हो रहा है. सो वो एचआर की बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. एंड एचआर, आप अपनी रिस्पेक्ट खुद, खैर हर इंसान अपनी रिस्पेक्ट खुद क्रिएट करता है, बट एचआर एज अ डिपार्टमेंट भी, इफ यू फील द कंपनी इन्विजन्स क्या, अगर आपको एक परसेप्शन है आपका, सो उसका कोई रीजन होगा. आई डोंट बिलीव कि हर बंदा इतना ईविल है कि वो नेचुरली बस ऑफिस में आती किसी भी डिपार्टमेंट को डिसरिगार्ड कर देते. क्या आप सुन लो, अपना काम एक्सप्लेन कर दो. सो व्हेन आई जॉइन इन माय प्रीवियस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, एचआरबीपी का तो पता ही नहीं था लोगों को. पहले तो मैं एचआरबीपी की ईमेल निकालता था, डू यू नो कि वो ये करते हैं, बिकॉज आई वांटेड टू क्रिएट सम रिस्पेक्ट. यार मैं कोई काम करता हूँ, ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं आके बैठ के आपकी खाना अरेंज करता हूँ या फिर मैं आपकी एंगेजमेंट एक्टिविटीज कराता हूँ. मेरा
There is
ये
no
काम
मसला
है.
खाना अरेंजमेंट, इसके लिए आपको पॉइंट्स ही मिलेंगे. Like, just joking.
पॉइंट्स ही मिलते हैं, बट वो ओनली, दैट्स नॉट द ओनली रोल. फिर उनको समझ आने लगा, अच्छा आपका ये भी काम है, फिर वो आते हैं.
Like I said,
फिर
it is very
एंड आई यूज्ड टू
critical.
अपडेट देम. जी, एंड आई यूज्ड टू अपडेट देम, यार
Business,
आपने मुझे एक चीज बोली थी ना, अब मैंने देखो ये कर दिया. तो आई नीड टू सेंड अनदर ईमेल. सो आफ्टर 6 or 7 months they understood, हाँ यार एचआर कोई काम कर रहा है. आई हैड टू मेक माय स्पेस.
I'm very glad that you did it, but like I said, knowing the business, knowing your people, they're two very, everything else in HR, the technical side of HR can be learned. This natural interest and curiosity is what makes great HR. And I have 2 questions for your audience as well. अगर ये सुन रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं, आज बहुत अच्छे questions उन्होंने हमसे पूछे. So in the end, I would also really want कि in the, like, as an engagement piece, they said that that like one of the questions that they asked is कि interview के अंदर हम किस तरह से why do we not screen 800 people like तो मैं चाहती हूँ कि people who are listening to your podcast, I mean just for inspiration, what kind of assessment metrics do you think HR should use? If it's not a test and if it's not an interview, it is not your university, so चलो हम तीनों को disregard कर देते हैं. तो what is your advice? I genuinely want to ask कि किस तरह से screen करें बेहतर. It's something that I genuinely want to know because what do candidates want? Like and maybe that inspires us to think differently. दूसरा question, I think I don't think, look, I come, like I said, my experience is in my entire network and fraternity is that the companies know the value and importance of HR. So मैंने कभी ऐसा देखा ही नहीं है, like कि इधर HR को problem creator का हो या and not problem solution. HR is generally very empowered in all the companies I work with and all the companies we benchmark also, right? So the HR fraternity is very strong. It's very engaged with business. They can speak the language, etc., etc. So I'm quite shocked because this is the second time I'm hearing this, by the way, in a podcast. So मुझे थोड़ी सी टेंशन होती है कि ये भाई कौन है ये HR ने जो हमें बदनाम करा है. लेकिन my second question was कि what is your expectation from HR? क्या चाहते हैं, like I want to know that that ठीक है, एक तो हो गया ना कि we will be the recruiters, that's basic to HR, but once you're in the organization, what is your expectations from the HR team? I'm curious to know because especially for those who asked this question, that expectation क्या थी? Like just so that I can inspire myself to think differently as well, because they were great questions, so I throw them back at the people who gave. हमने तो कोशिश किया, attempt किया to answer, but I would be very curious to know both the answers as well कि अच्छा ठीक है, हम नहीं करते top university से recruit, नहीं करते test लेके, नहीं करते assessment center, नहीं करते interview, नहीं करते तो मैं क्या करूं? करें क्या, like ये एक आंसर दें. और दूसरा कि अभी तुम you're selected, you're in the company wherever you work. Now what is your expectation? And I'm not asking this because of the fact कि I genuinely want to know, because I want to be better and I would love to hear thoughts from people, because it might inspire you and me and many HR people to think differently as well, because it's true, ये challenge है कि people feel that they're marginalized, that they're left out.